Welcome to the Surviving Business Podcast, where we go beyond the strategy of doing business and explore the mindset of the most successful leaders of today. Here are your hosts, Shane Anderson and Iva Locke.
Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody is well. Here we are with another podcast of Surviving Business, where me and my co-host, Iva Locke, go through some of the strategies and some of the things that you can implement today to not help you only survive this crazy time that we are in the world, but also to thrive going forward and coming out the back end. So this podcast was put together after the need of seeing a lot of small business owners around the world struggling, and small to medium business owners, that is, really struggling on how to cope with some of the strategies to absolutely just keep the doors open in this crazy time that we seem to be living in right at the moment. I am very blessed to welcome my co-host today. This gentleman I have worked with for a very long time now. I actually met him through the Tony Robbins Platinum Group. He was my master coach and we turned into friends. We've done businesses together. We've spoke on stage together. This man has coached thousands and tens of thousands of people around the planet in all different continents around the world. He has a wealth of knowledge about business strategies and also how to implement them in a fast, timely manner. No one else on the planet, I think, I could choose as a host to help me deliver this content and to give you these pearls and these nuggets of wisdom. I would love to thank and welcome Mr. Iva Locke. How are you, sir?
Very well, thank you, Shane. Thank you very much. Very kind words. And when I met Shane, he was such an incredible, bubbly, excitable person coming through to be coached by myself. And we did some extraordinary stuff. We took his business from having one shop to having 26 shops across the country. And as he said, we built some amazing businesses along the way. We did that in 9 months. And we've been hit along the way in a couple of things, but really at the end of the day, we here and we're stronger than ever. And right now, I want to introduce you to this amazing man, Shane Anderson, you're my co-host, and it's so amazing to be with you, Shane, and to share this journey with you as well, my friend.
Mate, it's exciting in a way. It seems to be a really crazy time in the world, but what an exciting time to sit back and take this moment to go through and work on these strategies, Iva. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely, my friend. It's so important right now for people to really keep their mindset right. As more and more countries actually start locking down right now, it's getting more and more kind of like people are dropping into survival mode. So what we've been attempting to do is to bring on some really amazing people to help businesses along the way.
And
so for today.
Yeah, we have an absolute amazing guest today, Iva. Tell us who we got here today.
Yeah, absolutely, we do. Well, he's a Primetime TV host. He's a podcast host. He's a National Speaker Association Hall of Fame speaker. He's a best-selling author. His show was on Bloomberg, and he was the #1 business show on Bloomberg. He was the person that was the inspiration behind Celebrity Apprentice of global celebrity business sensation, no other than not just a friend, a mentor, a business partner, but this man has got a heart of gold. So such a wealth of knowledge, and he's bought and sold over 250 businesses. So I want to welcome you to all today to an extraordinary man today, Jeffrey Hayzlett.
Hey, Jeffrey, how are you today?
I am doing great. I can't complain at all. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. And it's just a pleasure to be here with you guys today. And let's see if we get, there we get that video going. I'm at my ranch in South Dakota. It's good to see. I see we have some good friends here with us in the room. So this is going to be a lively conversation without question to see a couple of our podcast hosts on C-Suite Radio. And I see a couple of our Thought Council members and Hero Club members. It's going to be this is going to be a good conversation.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. 100%. Oh, yes. So, you know,
and even though this is tomorrow for me, because we're broadcasting in Australia, so this is tomorrow for me.
Yes,
it's yesterday for the rest of us. It's mind-boggling, okay, that we're traveling through time at this point and doing this kind of. And this is my third interview or third session today. I've been doing a couple hours at a time, so I'm pretty excited. This will be great.
Mate, and look, we don't want to show you what the newspapers say for today. Trust me, you just wait until tomorrow. And look, this podcast was put together obviously to help people understand some of the processes around how to not only survive in business, but to also thrive. So Jeff, honestly, very grateful to have you on the call here today. A lot of people obviously joining us live on Facebook Lives and etc. So there's going to be a lot of questions as we go. And the number one question that we'd like to ask our guests to kick off is, how do you survive in today's business? Now, where you are right at the moment, I'm sure things are going crazy as well. So could you just give us a little background, not only about where you are in your current climate, but how you're actually surviving business?
Absolutely. So thank you very much. I mean, none of us wants to be in the situations that we're being faced with, but I just wrote a note recently to the National Speakers Association. I said, look, if you don't know what your job is right now, let's be very clear. For most of us who are doing some thought leadership, if you're a podcast, you're a speaker, an author, a coach, a trainer, or you're a CEO, our job right now is to be a first responder. We're business first responders. And I don't mean that to put us at the same level, but yes, we are at the same level where we might not be on the front lines of the virus. We might not be at the front lines in the hospital. We might not be at the front lines of the people who are transporting people and taking care of people and caregivers. We're not firemen, we're not police officers, but we are business first responders. We have a job to do, and it's our responsibility to be able to help to get all of our economies back on track. That's our job, and to get our businesses on track. So when other people are sitting back and saying, oh, woe is me, oh my gosh, look what's going on, shut up, all right? Move aside, let the rest of us run to the fire, because that's what we've got to do. I mean, how do I take it? I can't take it. I'm not going to take it. I'm not going down without a fight. And so in the end, it's going to change without question. Let's be clear. When they're shutting down the economies for month on end, we have to retool. But at the same time, there's unbelievable opportunities. Let's think back to when the worst time that most of us know in modern history was 9/11 or 2008. What businesses came out of 2008 that are powerhouses today? I'll tell you, Uber, Airbnb. There's two examples right there during the deepest, darkest recession, depression, whatever you want to call it, that businesses came out and reiterated a different model. Who would have thought that, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you would let your daughter get into a car with a guy that they don't know at 2:00 in the morning after she's been out having a good time with her friends? Who would have thought that I would let Ivor Locke stay in my house, sit on my couch naked, and then have him pay me for it? I would not imagine that in my wildest. Right? Yet there we have it. We have some of those things. So the thing right now is one of the biggest things I think we have to do as business leaders is we have to get our mindset right. We have to get ready. It's going to be tough. It's going to be different. But I'm watching companies like iGel is a great example, who makes a secure pocket thin client that no matter where you go, you just plug this into a computer and that's now your computer. You take it with you on the road. You take it with you wherever you go. And so you can put that device on any device. That's an unbelievable business. And I'm watching, quite frankly, credit card processors. Let's take a guy like Erwin Grossman, who's running Delta Payment Systems. He helped me save $80,000, cut $80,000 out of my cost. Thank you. And I thought I knew a lot about credit cards. So we got to go find different places, different ways to do it. We got to change it, shift it, move it. Why? Because we have no other alternative. That's what we do.
That's amazing, Jeff. And mate, I just got obviously as we move into this new world, is there any advice that you could look at as far as helping people? What industries should they be looking at? I mean, what they knew yesterday is obviously not as important as what they do today and tomorrow. What industries do you think will be some of the forefront ideas that we could really sort of start to hoard our cash and really invest into these, not so investing, but like look at as far as moving forward?
Well, let's think about what are the things that we think will change as a result of what we're going through? For instance, I'm still appalled by the number of people who wash their hands, right? What were you doing before, right? But I still think there's going to be, seriously, if we think about that, everybody's talking about washing their hands. Where the hell, what were you doing before, you filthy people? But what are the things that we think might stick? Now, we've got a few speakers here. I think the speaking industry is going to change. Okay. So what I mean by that, I think people are going to get used to doing this. I think, we're going to develop habits very quickly over the next 2 months where, hey, it makes sense for us to do this. And this is going to be more acceptable than always getting together. There'll still be those things. So unless you're a speaker who is a celebrity, who is a subject matter expert or some type of entertainer, your ability to gather or to be the keynote, to be the person is probably going to diminish. So you're going to have to start to look to do things virtual, online. So there's going to be lots of opportunity for that. I think online academies. Let me give you another good example. You guys have down under, you guys do yoga, right? I mean, just like, so you got yoga. But there was a woman here recently who was like, "Oh my gosh, I got to shut my yoga show, shut it down," because she's not essential business. They got to make her shut it down because she can't see people. So she's thinking, "Oh my God, I'm going to go bankrupt. What about my little boy? How am I going to pay for his food, his clothes, and stuff like that?" Then someone said, "Hey, do the class online." She did the class online. Her business is up 40%. That's a fundamental shift and change, right? And by the way, I'm like, wow, man, I know we're all complaining we got to work from home. I like working from home. Are you kidding me? I'm on the road 260 days a year. This is, I'm figuring this out real quick. And the whole team is retooling, and it's going to allow me to retool. I just lost an event that we were doing in April. I'm going to lose $600,000 on it. It's gone. I lost it. Here, I pay right to checks. It's done. Not going to be able to make it. But now I'm doing that event online. And now we're trying to find the ways that we can do the event online and still get the same kind of revenue that we would have got there. Might it be the same? Maybe not. But can I keep the margins close to being the same and still gain? So that's the retooling I'm thinking of. And, okay, I can't go and do 200 speeches or, 150, 160 speeches like I do. So I'm going just like you guys. I'm going live. Yep. And I'm going to go live every hour and turn it into a mini TV show, blast it out to about 500,000 people, because that's my audience right now online, and be able to do that. And can I then get memberships from it? Can I pull other projects? Can I help connect people and make a little fee in between, or whatever it might be? That I've got to get smart. I got to hustle. I've never worked so hard in my life as I have the last 2 weeks, right? Yeah. And at the same time, I'm going to tell you that my revenue is up higher. I got more revenue in the last week than I have in the last month, just because new people are coming in because they're looking for solutions, and we're going to try to connect them, help them, and make it happen for them. So there's lots. So the answer to your question, Shane, there's lots of opportunities. You just got to go looking. You got to try. And by the way, you're going to make big mistakes. You're always going to make mistakes. So a lot of people say, "Oh, fail fast." Bullshit. Nobody likes to fail fast. You want to win fast. So this is the game we got to get in, is not failing fast. We're going to make mistakes, win fast. So pick your fights and start heading there as fast as you can and run. And you might have to change direction as you're running, but at least you're running in the right direction.
And it's about the owner, the business owner. Stop trying to sell the drill and start thinking about what the customer wants. Start selling them the whole, right? It's like, start thinking as the customer, how do they want to absorb it right now, and starting to shift that mindset to really retool the entire businesses, no matter what that is. I mean, we're seeing all businesses around the world right now, bakeries and even the food delivery guys, they've figured out a way how they can actually keep their distance. They have no contact delivery right now. So it's amazing watching some of the innovation that's coming through.
Well, and then there's some crazy stuff too. I just saw an Oregon business that used to be a stripper business, gals that and men and women that strip, and they're now delivering food. So move over Uber. Here comes Boober.
Wow.
That's what they.
Well, you can pay with toilet paper down here at the moment. I tell you, it's crazy. Well, the toilet paper business has gone through the roof as well. So
I don't get that at all either, but it'll all even out, as we go through the supply chain. Will bounce through it, take care of it, and won't be long, and nobody will freak out, and we'll do it. Right now, I think the businesses have to really focus on what I call the 5 keeps. So for all of us, we kind of have to develop our little like, what's our plan for moving forward? So let me give you the 5 outlines of what I think you have to do as a business today to move forward and be successful. Number 1 is you have to keep your customers engaged. Okay. So just like you, just like they are just like you, freaking out a little bit. Oh my God, what's going to go? There's times where I lay in bed and I'm panicking. I panic, oh my God, it's going to fail. I'm going to do this. What am I going to do? All of us go through that. And by the way, the CEO of GM's that way. The CEO of Microsoft's that way. Okay. We all go through that until I calm down or my wife slaps me upside the head and says, settle down, brother. So the first thing we got to do is keep our customers focused. So what are you doing to stay really tight to your customers? How are you doing what we're doing? I can tell you what we're doing is we're now getting them into weekly huddles. Then we're identifying the people that don't come into those huddles. We're then reaching out to them one by one, and we're talking to them. Can we get together? Can we set an appointment? Can we meet? And then the same thing holds true with the potential customers. We have never worked harder than our life. Do not sit on your butt. If you ponder, you will squander. Okay. If you wait, you will seal your fate. Okay. You've got to be running, and you've got to be running hard, because this is when great opportunities are also made and great saves are made. So you want to be able to do that. So hold forums, do meetings like this. What's your dream list? I just booked on my show coming up here, the head of HR for the head of HR Society. I just booked the CEO of the International Franchising Society. I mean, how does this all affect them? What can we do to help? How can we help you? And so forth and so on. That's number 1. Number 2 is keep your employees focused. What do you do? Before I got on this interview with Shane and Ivor, I was just hung up from a team meeting just like this, but a lot more boxes. And I was with all my team, and we were talking about what happened today. What was good about the webinars that we did? What was good about the video? What are you finding to be difficult? What is easy for you? How do we get better at this? Should we be looking to change to a new software platform so that we're communicating more? So the team has decided to move away from Zoom, which we've been using kind of as our operating system for connecting, into Microsoft Teams, because it's got more tool sets for us. And we're Microsoft on a Mac platform. So they like that. So we do now daily huddles with our employees, and I get them focused on what are the 3 to 5 things that they have to do today. Okay. Because you got to imagine now with some of us, like most of us on this call, we've worked from home. We're okay with it. We can take our laptop, we can work anywhere, but our employees typically got done at the end of the day and they went home. Right. And so they're not used to being on 24/7 like we are. I'm going like, everybody says, oh, it's a good thing it's the weekend. I'm going like, what's a weekend? It's like somebody asked the Queen one time about a vacation. She said, what's a vacation? She doesn't know. Right. So same thing holds true for us. So we have to keep them focused. So we do a daily huddle, and then we get together at the end of the day 3 times a week right now. And even on Friday, we've just started a happy hour. So everybody brings a little glass of bubbly, a little scotch or whatever your drink might be. And we have a little drink and we enjoy ourselves. And they make fun of me and they have a great time. And we love all that. So that's number 2. So keep your employees focused. Number 3, you got to keep the cash flowing. Okay. Number one, I didn't say profits. By God, if you can get the profits, even better. Okay. But keep the cash flowing. So what are you going to do about, let's say, forbearances? One of the things, forbearance, if that's a foreign word, I had to look it up. So on your forbearances, maybe if you're not working in your office anymore, don't pay the rent. Hold it off. Go to the landlord and say, I'm sorry, this is the way we're going to do. We're going to work something out, but right now, or skip it every other month, maybe even on your own home or your apartment, you want to do that. Maybe you want to do that with your car payments, whatever. Because here's the deal, guys. You don't have to save the world. You don't have to worry about surviving. What you have to worry about is getting through the next 60 days. 60 days. Don't worry about 6 months. Don't think about next year. Don't think about the big vacation. That you just got to get through the next 60 days. All right. And, that's one of the things we're telling people in the C-Suite network right now. If I can help you get through the next 60 days, would you come and be a member for the price of a dinner? I'll help you get through it. We'll have you in the huddles. We'll put you this. We'll give you the plans. We'll all work together. You call me 24 hours a day, 7 days, whatever I can do to help you get, if it's just worth that, just $100 a month, that's all I'm asking for. And so we're seeing an uptick in members because they're looking for that tribe in that community. So forbearances, what government programs, in the United States right now, we're seeing the SBA. My wife is sitting right across from me right now, applying for the loans because that's what you got to do. You got to get in line for them. Okay. And whether or not I need them, probably, but I don't know. I don't care. I'm getting in line. And if they're going to hand it out, I'm going to try to get a hold of it. Cause I think if you always have cash, it's better. What about going to your credit card companies about doing that? I just had American Express call me on Monday and offer me $250,000. They said, we'll approve you within a few minutes. And then they said, we'll give you up to $2 million. Like, thank you, Jesus. Or, that's awesome. So what can you do there? What can you do to hold the payments off? What you might have to think about reducing salaries for a few months. You might think about the officers not taking a salary for a month or two. You're going to have to get creative. Maybe you can get you a new piece of business and they say, well, I can't afford it right now because I'm really worried about this. Hey, pay me 4 months from now. Pay me 4 months from now. At least you got it. By the way, that helps you get the loan because you can show that you got revenue coming in, right? So those are the kind of things I would take a look at. So that's number 3, keep the cash flow going. And I can go on and on with a lot more. Number 4, and guys, if you need to stop me, Ivor or Shane, because
no, keep going.
Okay, I go for the full ride. You get to go for the full ride with me.
Yeah.
That's so number 4 is keep continuity. Okay, what do I mean by that? So you had a regular cadence for your business prior to this. You have to keep that going. Now it might change, that cadence or that continuity might change because now you got to work from home. Now you got a distributed workforce or you're doing something different. Well, here's the deal, my friends, get off your freaking couch. Start looking like a business. Don't, when you get home and you work home, you kind of relax, you do some things, you sit on the couch, you do those kind of things. Stop that. Don't do the calls like that. Make it look like an office. Make as much of the office as you possibly can, or keep the continuity of the way in which you act in the business. Got it?
Yep.
Because I'll tell you, if you start going to sweatpants and shorts and things like that, at least dress from the waist up, business up, party down. Okay. Because it at least gets you in the mindset. And the more that you're in that mindset, the better the continuity of the business. What's your regular hours? Well, just because your commute's now 32 seconds because you walk down the stairs, doesn't mean you just zore in. What were your hours before this incident occurred? Then maybe you want to increase the hours. I've never worked, again, harder than I've ever worked before. I got by with about 3 hours of sleep last night because I was so working on this, and I still have my list. Look at this. This is my list from Monday, and I still don't have it done yet. That's how busy I am right now. So we want to do that. Number 5 is keep your spirit. Keep your spirit, keep the energy, find the things that make you have that and keep it and find it and keep it close to you, because that's what you got to do, because it's tough some days. And no matter how tough it is, you got to make that work. I want you to find the tribes. I want you to find groups like this and others, the C-Suite network. Obviously, do I benefit from that? I'm first one to say, yep, I benefit, but I give as much as I get. I try to give more than what I get. But don't seek, you want to find people who can raise you up. who can help you and connect and do different things. So I'm encouraging people to find a tribe or find multiple tribes, because the more you find of those things that are people like you or near you or around you that can help, the better. There are more ponies out there that you can find. There's a pony in there somewhere. And I always tell people is to seek counsel, not opinions. To seek counsel, not opinions. So get to a tribe of people and get with people who you can gain from that association. You know, almost everybody that I've known in the business for a long, long time, especially those that are in the thought leadership business, and anyone that wants to get together, if a group of CMOs wants together, a group of CEOs wants together, they always ask me who's in the group. And the reason is they always want to punch above their weight. So look for places where you can punch above your weight. And what I mean by that is look for being around other people who will raise you up and raise your game. And if you're seeking counsel rather than opinions, that's what you'll be looking for. So those are my 5 right there, just off the top of my head. But when I've been thinking more and more about this and how we do it and how we get to where we need to go, that's where I'd focus.
That's absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So at the moment, you know, I love the fact that you talk about, you know, building that spirit and finding the people that will engage with you and really help you. And I think that's the one thing around, even with this little group Surviving Business at the moment, is really our outreach about being able to go out and help people and share the word. Because right now, if you're not in that right sort of spirit, in that right sort of like, and looking forward to what's going to happen next, you know, you're just going to drop and sit on the couch all day. So Jeff, at the moment, I know that things have changed. Well, what do you think is? I mean, you know, what's going to happen? Like you talk about planning for the next 60 days. I know all of us would wish that we had a globe and we can see what's going to happen into the future, but. You know, at the moment, what do you see? I mean, you've been around business, you've been through the GFC and things like that, and you said that you saw Airbnb and Uber come about. What sort of like your kind of forecast into what's going to shape into the future?
You're going to see a lot more businesses get into the content business pretty quick, right? Because we found out that the traditional methods aren't going to work, and you've got to have new methods. You have to be able to establish the brand and be able to espouse the brand, but you got to build the community. So I think you're going to see people helping people build bigger communities faster, because the tighter your community, the strength of your community is the strength of your business. Whether you're a speaker, an author, coach, or a major brand, right? They can't rely on the things of the past. They have to rely on people referring people, getting engaged. And so anything that would be able to do engagement. Watch more podcasts. I'm telling you, podcasts are going to go up like this, like going to continue to soar. If you haven't thought about doing a podcast, and as a brand or as a brand of you need to look at that. You're going to see audiobooks soar. Audiobooks. I bet you we put audiobooks together. I bet you we'll do 100 in the next 60 days.
Wow.
So where we'll help people to get their audiobook up and running, more so than books. By the way, coronavirus has now led to the top 10 books are all in business. The top 10 books across the board right now are all business books. It hasn't happened for a long time. And why is that? Because people are seeking leadership, and they're looking for how to handle distributive workforces. But leadership and distributive workforces are two of the biggest things that you're seeing right now as topics. So we're seeing those kinds of things. So I think they'll be more attuned to the establishment of the brand, and the brand is about the promise delivered. Okay. And so I think you'll see more scrutiny around that, Ivor. But I also see businesses and people like folks here who will grow tremendously during this time period. Like I said, I know many business people who are making big investments right now because they know they can do that. And you got to get ready for the restart. That's a good point. I want to make sure that we make is what's a restart? Well, after 9/11, after 2008, but think about this. When you're driving down the interstate or the highway or the, I don't know, what do you guys call them what do you call them in Australia? I've been to Australia 200
Dirt
times,
roads
but
half the time. No, they're highways.
the highway. Okay.
Yep.
And you've been in the highway, like say in Carnegie or in Melbourne or wherever. And as you're driving down the road, it backs up and it backs up and it backs up and it's really slow and you're barely crawling. And then all of a sudden, after about an hour of this, you look over and there's like a shoe on the road. And then the cars open up and there's nobody in front of you. That's what's going to happen. Okay. And you need to be ready for that. And so you need to put the systems in place. You need to have stuff ready to be able to scale with that. So find the cash, do the things, but you're going to have to invest, either in time, money, or expertise to be able to do that. And so you want to, again, I'm big on this, joining your tribe and your group and building your family and your community, because it's worked for me. And I'm watching brands starting to really get into it a lot more as well. You're going to see CEOs doing books. You're going to see companies doing books of history of the company. You're going to see them doing mini documentaries on the company. I mean, all those things are going to come about because the power of that media, the power of content.
I love the idea about having even the Friday happy hour as well. It's like it doesn't need to be all work that's done digital. It's also about the community connection and being able to bring everybody in and still have that fun and liveliness around the business central.
Shane, a good example of that. Yep. You remember a month ago, if you were home working and your kid came into the shot, you would freak out. Okay.
Yes.
And, yes. Or if you only worked home from occasionally time, you would kind of keep that separate. You can't keep that. Now no. All the kids are home.
Yeah.
They've shut down the schools. So, so now we're doing conference calls. You can hear the kids in the background. You can hear them beating the head out of their, punching their sister in the head and all the stuff that goes with that. And, and it used to be irritating. And now you go like, that's not so bad.
We had an instance here in Australia. It made the newspaper where they were doing a conference call, and one of the participants decided to go to the bathroom, not realizing her.
Oh yeah, that's made its way around. That she's now famous. I feel very sorry for it. We've all been. I've had conference calls with CEOs where we've had 100 or 200 of them on the thing, and we had one guy who was down in the Dominican Republic on vacation, and he was in his bathing suit. And his video camera was on the whole time. And there he is in his hotel. You can see his appendix scar and his big belly and the whole bit. And we're all laughing our asses off, as you could probably imagine. But, look, come on. It's life, right? We've all made some stupid thing.
And when we talk about that, and you bring up point 4 about keeping continuity, how to... obviously dress for business when you're in the business thing. Is there any other anchors or mental anchors that you could suggest that people actually are able to separate out of that home environment when there is a lot of craziness going on, when there's kids running around and stuff like that? How do you maintain focus and still keep your creativity in a business sense?
Well, I think you have to have some discipline around it. I know that you have to have some routines. You have to have some discipline about the way in which you do it. That's why I sent a note to my employees yesterday. I said, I know that you're working hard. I love you for it. I appreciate it. But here's some of the things I'm noticing. You're a little sloppy on the calls. Mm-hmm. You're not looking as good as you should be. So maybe you're not taking showers. You're sitting in your PJs. Doesn't work. If you're sitting in your PJs, I don't want to pay you. Not going to pay you. So nope, not going to work. You're sitting in a sweatshirt. I wouldn't let you come that way and work. And so you're working at home. That's got its benefits and it's got its drawbacks, but here's what we have to do. And so I put those things in. Don't sit on your couch, and some people wrote to me and said, you were talking about me. I said, no, not really. I was talking about somebody else, but that fact that that you've identified that's okay too. But let's do that. And also, and my wife helps me with this a lot because I'm a workaholic. I'll work all night long. And you have to have some you have to have some boundaries, right? You have to have those boundaries. So you kind of need to think through those things, like what are going to be my conditions of satisfaction about working from home? What are my conditions of satisfaction with my team on working from home? So you really need to have those discussions. And I think one of the key things you can do, Shane, in these discussions is be transparent. So let's just have open, good conversations. Let's speak it, you know? And by the way, you got to be willing as a leader to be very vulnerable or be very authentic. And like the other day we were on a call and I got really ticked off and I was grumpy and I was like, I've had enough of this, because somebody was asking this question. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm trying to make sure that we got payroll. I'm trying to make sure that we got this. And you're questioning whether it should be blue or green. Shut up.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's in my mind. And of course that came through in my attitude a little bit. And so then I had to apologize to everybody.
And it's not only on those business calls themselves. Sometimes, there's a different persona of yourself that is in a business sense. And then all of a sudden you turn around and start talking to the children like, that you're in a business mode. Have you ever come across that?
Oh, totally. All my life, I've treated both of my children have worked in the business. My daughter's recently left to go start her own company that she's doing. And my son still works in the business. My wife works in the business. And so sometimes I have to be very careful how I say things or do things. And I'm not as careful as I should be. And I snap too fast and I do yes, without question. And so you kind of remember that movie from Galfanis or whatever his name, I can't remember his name, but you better check yourself before you wreck yourself. Comment. But more of us need to be doing more of that. More of us need to be centering a little bit more. I think I've been talking to a lot of friends now. We're doing a lot more meditation, a lot more mindfulness training. I think that's extremely helpful. I need to do more of it. I always joke, I usually do my mindfulness training with a glass of scotch, but that's not the right answer to that. So
we've got some questions from the audience, Ivor.
Yes, we got Nina that wants to ask a question. I'm just going to look to unmute Nina very quickly. Okay, Nina, you're unmuted, so please ask your question.
Yes, hi Jeffrey, lovely to get your wisdom here today. You mentioned watching a podcast. Do you recommend that podcasts should be video or audio only, or does it matter?
Well, traditionally podcasts have always been audio, right? Now we're seeing more and more people do video. But video to me, I would call as a TV show. It's a show. Right. All right. So if we're doing video, it's a show. And so the way we do it in the C-Suite network, we have C-Suite TV and we have C-Suite radio. Today, we have about 150 going to about 170 business podcast shows. This one included, and many other people. Mark's on here. He's got a podcast with us as well. And so we would traditionally call an audio feed being a podcast. That would be a podcast. If Mark or yourself or others would take this, we would turn this into a TV show. Because traditionally you're going to go and listen or watch that in a different mode, in a different channel, through a different distribution. So I'd separate the two. If to do it, and then what makes TV? What makes a real TV show or a good show? Obviously more cameras, more things, but you can't. Obviously, if you can get both people together, you can do a lot more with the angles and the cameras. You can shoot a 3-camera shot at least, or a 3-camera shoot. There's some other things, but people are getting used to this and they're okay with it. And so the most important thing to remember about a podcast is sound. Yeah. Sound is the most important thing to keep in mind, because think about when you got iPods or stuff, or you got a headset and it picks up every little noise. It picks up every little hiss. It picks up every little pop. And then now if you play that while you're walking around your house in your speakers, and if I don't want to say her name, if I say Alexa, she's going to come on. But if I tell her to play the podcast and I hear that even amplified much louder. So one of the most important things I tell people about podcasts is really about sound.
And my second question was, when you mentioned audiobooks will escalate, and we record our audiobook, where do you recommend we post it? I mean, Audible or?
Well, if you can get Audible to pick it up, that's a different thing. Audible likes to do only Audible books. So, so what we're building actually in C-Suite Radio, or C-Suite Book Club, we're actually building a depository for that book. So, what I would do is not look at, personally, if it were me, Nina, if on my audiobooks, now I sell my audiobooks. I sell the rights to those. I record those myself. And Audible is Audible is the one that bought the rights to my book. So they've always been good about that. But if I were to do one without Audible, and the next one I will do, I'm going to give it away. And again, why not? I mean, what's your real cost? It costs you about, let me just give you the numbers, cost you about 8 cents a word. Okay. So on average, 50,000 book, that's the average book. Average business books is 50,000 words, 10 chapters, 5,000 words a chapter typically. And that's what most books are like. They're all the same, pretty much all the same size. And so it runs you about $4,000, 4,500, somewhere in that range. That's US dollars. And okay, so I create that book. Now I got the book. Now what do I do with it? Well, why not give it out? Get everyone that can hear you, see you, listen to you. I mean, the words of wisdom, that's like sometimes I have speakers that go to me. I never let them record my session. I never let them show it. Are you nuts? I let them record it, show it, give it to everybody that walks down the street. Here's some thumb drives, copy it, give it away. Okay. Because I've never had anyone say, I heard your speech. I saw your speech. I didn't want to hire you. It's the opposite of that. Right. So that's one of the things I always tell people. So we're really moving into an abundant society, which means get it out there as much as possible to the place that they want to do. So why I haven't been wanting to do a video cast, and it's very tough for me to do a podcast with video because I'm constantly in a different city every day. Well, not right now. So we're going to shoot with 3 cameras. Team's coming in on Saturday. They're going to set the cameras up. I got 2 here right now. They're going to put another one over here. And we'll shoot it and we'll do it that way. And we'll put it out that way. But I haven't been able to do that. So if you have the ability to do it, I'd say, yeah, do it. Why? Because go to where the people are. And some people want to listen and some people want to watch. Great. Some people want to read. So that's why you got to you need to transcribe your podcast interview. You need to transcribe your book, or your book is your transcription. So those are the things I would do.
You mentioned videocast. The word webinar, is that a word that sells, or is there a better term for a webinar?
We're using the word video discussions.
Okay, great.
Because that, to me, it did, but I don't know what that word's going to be over time. But a webinar traditionally has been a PowerPoint presentation that I throw up on people. Okay. And right. And it's been a one-way thing with maybe a few questions. Zoom has changed that. I mean, Eric Wan, who's the CEO of Zoom, and by the way, I'm the very first customer of Zoom.
Wow.
As an enterprise customer, I called him when he was answering his own phone a number of years ago. In fact, that button you see down below that says leave meeting or end meeting, I'm responsible for that button because I called him. I was so mad one day I couldn't hang up the call, couldn't figure it out. And I called Eric and he answered the phone again and we were talking. And if you don't know Eric's Chinese American. He's got a very thick Chinese accent, so it was hard to even talk to him, but I was so mad, I didn't care. And so I said, what the hell? I can't hang up the call. And he goes, oh, the button's right there. I said, I can't see the button. All the buttons are white. Why don't you make it red? Red means hang up. And then the next day he called me and says, look down to the button. It was red. He goes, we call that the Jeff Hayzlett button. So I thought that was funny. He spoke of that at a conference. Yeah. So I think they have allowed us to create this genre in a different way than the webinars have the past. And of course, you can record it, send it back to people, link to it. You can strip the audio into a podcast or to another use. You can do breakouts of people. You can have hundreds of people. Like tomorrow, I have over 400 people on one webinar or one video discussion. Well, wow. Okay, that's awesome. In a couple of weeks, I'll do another event where we'll do it every day. And we're worried we're going to have 1,000 people, worried. Oh my gosh. And then we're going to break people up into groups and do discussion groups with different faculty members. Ivor and others will lead those. And it's awesome. So I think you have every day we turn around, there's something new that we have to try and can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jeff, we got another question from Russell. Russell, I'm just going to either unmute yourself or unmute you.
All right, how's that?
Perfect.
Jeff, thank you very much for the time today. I, over the last year, have been the president of our Australian Professional Speakers Association. And
oh, wow.
For our convention was literally just over a week ago. And we managed to have it before all events got shut down, but they got shut down on that weekend. So I saw hundreds of people scrambling, a lot of keynoters, bureaus cancelling, basically everyone making contingency plans. So I saw 100 people, a couple of hundred people literally going, I need an online course, I need a podcast, I need an online community, I need all these things. And so the noise from my perspective was incredible. Where's an opportunity that no one's talking about yet in this environment?
Well, so that's a great question, Russell. And here's my answer is all those things, now what? You create that. You just said the word noise. There is so many people who are going on Facebook Live right now or LinkedIn. Most of them can't do LinkedIn Live. I'm lucky enough to be one of those people that have been allowed to do it. But they're going on and they're talking. Okay, who gives a shit? Quit. So how about start talking about something that's meaningful rather than the weather or complaining about this or doing that. So one thing is you should be, if you're going to do it, be on point. Okay. Be on the things that you are the expert on. I'm not an expert on COVID. I'm not. Okay. I'm a learned guy. I'm pretty smart. I study it. I know things. I visit with people. I talk to government officials. I help people, like I recently connected the owners of hotels in New York with the government. Now they're going to be hospitals, things like that. On the call today, I had somebody who has buses and he can haul people around. So I connected him with the governor of the state of Georgia. All right. So we do things like that. But if you ask me to comment publicly about COVID and what's going on, I can't. I can talk about business. That is my genre. So one is you need to figure out to stick to that. Second is, what are you going to do with the podcast? What are you going to do with the audiobook? What are you going to do with the online course? You're going to put it up there, but if you don't have an audience to go sell it to, well, then what's the use of that? So one thing should lead to what is going to be the outcome of the other. So let's give you a good example of a podcast. If you come and be a part of C-Suite Radio, we're going to host your podcast, but that's not the real thing. We're going to teach you how to use the podcast. And let me give you one of the best things. When Mark knows this story real well. I'm going to teach Mark he's a coach. He coaches people. Mark, who are the people you want to coach? And he goes, well, I want to coach CEOs of these kinds of companies and these companies. I said, well, then go. I said, are those people listening to your podcast? Of course, they're not listening to my podcast yet. I just got started. I said, well, why don't you go interview those people? So now he's targeting the people he wants to do business with a show that's on a national network, of which he's now a headliner on. Now looks like a subject matter expert. He looks like a media mogul. Okay. He looks like that anyway, because he's a good looking guy. But now he gets to step into it. And Russell, now he's using that as an offensive weapon to get business. So 1/3 of his client base will eventually come from his podcast just by interviewing the key people he wants to do. That makes sense. If you're going to do an audiobook, don't do an audiobook to do an audiobook. Do an audiobook with an end in mind. So what's the end in mind? And most people aren't thinking about what's the end in mind. You build it and hope they come and no one shows up. So pick those things wisely. And I typically will pick the things which I have the greatest propensity for success. So if you're not an online expert of selling an online course, unless you've got somebody that's helping you do that, probably not the smartest thing, right? audiobook. Well, I can get an audiobook. I can send a link to it. I can get that out to everybody as possible. Let me give you a gift. I can do that. I can get friends of mine to take my book, send it out to 10, 20, 30 CEOs of that they know. And I can certainly go and interview the right kinds of experts that I want to have and feature on my show. That make sense?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Thank you very much for that. I'm actually really well placed at the moment because I finished my pilot program, and my community things were already starting in February. So I've hit it right on point, but it's more for
here's another idea. Another idea, Russell. The other thing I think people are missing out on most of us here are mostly thought leaders. You're missing out on monetizing of the community. So if I may I share something on the screen?
Of course you may.
Would you mind? Okay.
Yes, of course.
All right. So I'm going to share something which you guys are going to love me for. Let me go pull it up. Because this is something I just recently trademarked, and I want you to see this, because this is what most thought leaders are missing is right here. Can you see the thought value chain?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Just make sure. So we got revenue over here. We've got time over here. The more time we spend, the more revenue we should get, and the more value we should create. So, Ivor is part of a group, which is a very elite group called the Thought Council. Of that group, this is the kind of things that we help show how to monetize in the different things that you do. You got free content, hosted media, book, you got enablement tools. You might have a course, you might do a workshop, you might do a series of courses that you could tee into an academy. Then what's your alumni group? How are you doing that? Do you do a retreat? Do you do coaching? Your keynote. Now this keynote might, for some of you, might be down here, might be over here as well, instead of up here, depending on what you charge. And then what is your council? So what is your local city group? Or so if you're living in Brisbane, maybe you're going to run a special group just in Brisbane. Then you do a super council or another council. You do this thought council that might be bigger. So a good example, if I might, I'll just, again, I'll be more than happy to share that with any of you. But that's just something that we do and show. But for instance, Ivor's, can I say this, Ivor? Can I tell you?
Yeah, sure you can. Sure you can.
So Ivor's, a world-renowned coach. He's been doing coaching forever. Well, he should teach other coaches how to do it. So he's creating his own mastermind, but we call them councils inside the C-Suite network. And one of the things that we do is we help our partners build those kinds of councils, because that helps us, helps them, and you build and monetize your community. So again, Russell, we typically we show people like, okay, you do this, you do this, you do this, but this is where the end should be. And this is where you should be going with it. And if you move up that value chain, what you were doing as a keynote, and you're making maybe a couple 100,000 or maybe $500,000, or maybe if you're really good, $1 million or $2 million, but now you can make 10. And this is how you make 10. And you make the money while you're not on stage. Wow. I like that business more than any business. I love being on stage, but I like to make money when I'm sitting on my ass too.
So if you don't mind me summing up, just so I've got it right, it's very much stay in your lane, but go extra deep. This is the opportunity to actually get some levels into the work that you're already doing.
Totally. Because I've got people here. There's Shay that I've known for years. Shay was part of a group. Chris is part of a group. We've got groups that are into the hundreds that pay us $10,000, $20,000 a year to meet a few times a year. That's a mastermind concept that's really about building their business, building value, and showing them. So we're going deep. So we spend. So I know, like Shay said last Christmas, Shay sent me some jelly from near from a mountain retreat up in Bear Mountain, right, Shay? I think it is. Yeah, Bear up near Bear Lake. And so he's, you get to know people and you get to know who they are and what, every time Ivor comes over, he brings Tim Tams, so, but if he brings Vegemite, I'm punching him in the throat. Okay? I'm telling you that right now. He brings that.
That's your next Christmas gift, Jeff. I'm bringing you a big jar of Vegemite. I've got another question. I've got Asher that wants to ask you a question, Jeff.
Sure.
Hey, Jeff. I really appreciate your time today. It's a kind of a two-part question. And I guess the first part is, obviously a lot of people like myself and everyone on this call, we're all probably thinking some of the same things, and especially with what you're saying to us today as well. But if we had the resources and the time only to focus on one, what do you think's the more go-to, the podcast or training programs or courses, that kind of thing?
Well, I right now personally it would be the podcast. It's the easiest thing to get up and running and doing. To start a podcast, if you hire someone to get it started, like, you come to a group like C-Suite Network, we're going to charge you about $2,500, $2,900 to get your first 4 to 5 podcasts up. Then on average, it's about $125 a podcast to be able to produce a podcast. Great. Now, but you could do some of that on your own. You could do it all on your own if you want it. If you have the time, money, and expertise, right? You can do all that stuff. So you just got to figure out what's the best bang for the buck. And what fits you. So actually, this is another thing I always tell people is, my opinions are only my opinions. They're my assessments, not yours. And so meaning you got to find the thing that works for you. And a lot of speakers or podcasters, thought leaders, a lot of people tell them you got to do this. Do what's right for you, right? Do it the way you want. Now, there could be a better way maybe of doing it. You could do it better this way or better that way, but who gives a as long as you're doing it the way you want to do it. And that's what I try to tell people all the time. So find the thing that's best for you. Now, for me, the podcast is the right thing because if I'm selling advertising, I'm selling sponsorships. I'm going to customers I'm working with and, I'm putting them on the show, getting them on the show. And so I'm monetizing it in different ways that way. It makes me look bigger. You know what I mean? It makes me look like I'm a media star, especially with an affiliation. I mean, Mark gets to he's a C-Suite Radio. He puts it right on his logo. He puts it in LinkedIn. He's a headliner host on C-Suite Radio, just like ABC in Australia, just like CBS here in the US. He's part of that network, which is kind of cool. And then if you do other things, there's the other things you can do with it. So, but for others, if you've got the audience and you've got the ability to sell the course, then sell the course. Do the course. I think that's smart too. I'm not one of those guys. I haven't been wanted to sit in a studio and do a course. Everybody says, Jeff, you should go do one. Well, I don't want to do one. Doesn't mean it's not right. I just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay. And so I guess then you've kind of answered part of the second part of the question, which was based on then whichever you choose, what's the best platform? Like, I mean, I guess I was thinking probably not such a big picture if I was to go down, say, the podcast route, more of doing like video blogs with video interviews and then having them just hosted on my website, or and then the same thing with I was to do an online course. But is it worth that extra distance in trying to find someone to pick up your podcast or your video interviews, that kind of thing?
Well, the podcast today, first of all, you can put your podcast up and then you can put it on, all the places. You can find somebody that will host it and do that. And that's cool. But you're just one of a million of them, because there's soon to be a million podcasts. Yeah. Now, okay, that's cool. So then you got to fight for it to be seen. So really doesn't make much of a difference that it's on your website or it's on those, because they got to fight to be seen. But you got to go put them there because that's where people go to listen. That's where they go to download it. So they're already on Apple, they're on Stitcher, they're on this, they're on that. So you got no choice. That's the game you got to play there. The differentiation is the affiliation going to help you? Now, we believe it does. So I sell that. I'm blatant about what I'm telling you here. We sell that. I tell Mark, I tell Ivor, you want your podcast on my network because I'm going to make you look more important. Now, but I do tell Mark and I do tell Ivor, don't count on me to get you one listener. Okay. I say it right there. It's in a letter. Even though every podcast host comes to me thinking I'm going to increase their podcast listenership, but I can't do that because you might suck. All right. And you might be terrible. You might not. And by the way, I have people who do this, who never tweet about their podcast. never do it consistently, don't put the artwork up, who will put that they just had an interview with the director of such and such and such and such. Who cares, right? What you need to do, if I'm going to be talking about, let's say in the US, I did an interview with the person who's in charge of marketing the United States of America, right? Does anyone know that person? No, I don't know. I can't even remember the person's name now. And I interviewed them. But what I did do was put a picture of Donald Trump and say, how to sell America with this guy. Okay. That gets listeners, right? So if I would have put, hey, I met with the CMO of America, Jim Jarman, nobody would have known. You know what I mean? So you got to figure out, Asha, what's right for you and the way it works. But do I believe that affiliation is an important thing? Absolutely. If you're a trainer and you talk to people about motivating, teams and so forth, would you want to be on the platform that is, that all the HR managers watch and see? Yeah, if they had such a thing. So I do believe there's value in that, or I wouldn't sell. I mean, that's the reason why I sell it. Not to mention you can make money with podcasts. I sell advertising. That's one of the other thing I do. So I sell advertising on Mark's. I'll sell advertising on Mark and Ivan's and Shane's show. And I split it with them 50-50. Could I go sell it, but they get half the money and I get half the money. So to me, that seems like a fair thing. So.
Absolutely.
Tammy told me we got a big check yesterday. So that was good.
That's always a good thing. Yeah. Jeff, we had time at the moment, so I just want to say a huge thank you for coming online. I know you've been super busy, and I know there's so much more that you need to still do. So I want to respect your time as well. And I know from everybody on the call and everybody that's listening, you've given so much value today. So I just want to thank you so much for being here.
I'm scribbling notes on top of notes on top of notes at the moment, so I'm loving it. And I think everybody, thank you very much, Jeff, for blessing us here today, mate. Good luck with everything as we go into the future. From myself and from everybody else that's on here today, just stay safe and let's go into the new world together and make sure that we kick some goals.